The Biome Blade has always been a powerful and fan-favorite weapon line in Terraria Calamity Mod, especially with the new update it received that completely reworks the entire weapon line. As now, each of the new Biome Blade line has their own unique form of attack that you can choose. Unlike the old Biome Blade, which you have to be in a specific biome to use their signature abilities, the new Biome Blade can store the attacks using different forms, so you can use the powers anytime and anywhere. And now that my previous video on the Biome Blade is outdated, let's take a look at the new Calamity Biome Blade in a nutshell. But before we start the video, this video is sponsored by my new phone Red Magic 8 Pro by Nubia. Red Magic 8 Pro is a powerful gaming smartphone that is designed for gamers to play the most demanding games with ease. With the powerful Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, you can enjoy a truly immersive gaming experience, especially with its large 6.8-inch AMOLED full-screen display. With its very powerful fan and multi-dimensional cooling system with extremely low power consumption, you'll never even have to worry about overheating your phone again when you are gaming hard. It has performance optimizers when you play games, allowing you to do a lot of stuff like remapping keys, screen record, enable fan, and much more. It also has a fast response dual shoulder triggers. These things make aiming while shooting much easier on shooter games like PUBG Mobile. It truly helps you to win more games. It has a simple and futuristic design. The one I own is a transparent design. The rear camera is 50 megapixels and this phone has an under-display front camera, which allows your phone screen to look much bigger and won't distract you while gaming. Oh hey, and look at that! It also has a headphone jack with a comfortable location, which is very cool, as it is quite rare to find in newer phone nowadays. Red Magic 8 Pro includes fast 65W charging to go with 6000 mAh battery life and more than a full day of juice, while also still being lightweight. With this phone, I can play Terraria anytime and anywhere without the worry of lagging or my battery life. So if you want to get yourself a great gaming phone, I highly recommend checking out Red Magic 8 Pro by Nubia. Thanks Red Magic for sponsoring this video. Alright, back to the video. It all starts with a broken Biome Blade. To craft it, you need 50 dirt blocks, 50 stone blocks, 5 hellstone bars, 5 aerialite bars, which means yes, you do need to defeat perforators or hive mind first in order to mine aerialite in your world. And last but not least, a single wooden sword. Combine all of them in an anvil and you'll get yourself the broken Biome Blade. There are a total of 5 different forms for this weapon. In the Purity biome, you'll get Pure Clarity. When swung, it fires a medium-range Purity projection projectile. This projectile inflicts the armor crunch debuff to enemies, greatly reducing their defense temporarily. In the Snow biome, you'll get Biting Embrace. It replaces the default swing animation of the sword with a custom 3-swing combo that can be aimed, while also being able to apply the glacial state debuff to enemies on the final strike, freezing them in place. It can be very useful to stop fast enemies. In the desert or underworld, you'll get Arid Grandeur. This mode conjures 4 spinning searing blades in front of you. The blades charge up and get larger and stronger the more you hit enemies. This mode also doubles as a movement tool that functions like a pogo stick that bounces the player away from any tile they hit. In the Corruption or Crimson, you'll get Decay's Retort. When used, the player lunges forward. Hitting enemies with a blade heals 2 HP and you also get bounce away from the hit targets. In the Jungle or Sea, you'll get Grove Tender's Touch. This mode turns Biome Blade into a fine whip. Striking enemies with the tip of the whip deals double damage. The whip will also propel the player towards struck tiles, not practical but it's okay. Mind you that you can store up to 2 attunements on each Biome Blade. You can switch between the 2 attunements by right-clicking once, so you can switch to the best form that fits your need during any situation. After acquiring Broken Biome Blade, the next evolution is a regular Biome Blade. It is obtainable after defeating all the 3 mechanical bosses, as you require each of Soul Fright, Might, and Sight. Then you want to grab 2 Pixie Dust from Pixies in the Hollow biome, and 10 Stardust from enemies in the Astral Infection biome. Combine all of them in a Mithril Anvil and you'll get the Biome Blade. All the Biome Blade upgrades generally have similar function to the previous version, but an upgraded or improved version of them. For the Purity form, you can now place a mark or sigil on enemies to make your projectiles home at them. For Desert or Underworld, after hitting enemies to charge the blade, you can now shoot and let go of the blades, giving it range capabilities. This upgrade sounds simple, but it can be really powerful at situations as the blade's infinity pierce enemies. For the Snow form, now the blade is larger and stronger, and also releases damaging snow dust and particles in the air that damages enemies consecutively. For the Jungle form, now the Fine Whip is longer and the fine spreads from one enemy to another, enhancing its AoE capabilities. For the Corruption or Crimson, it's basically the same as before. However, after 3 consecutive strikes in the air, you can do a charge slice attack. Now it also has new forms as new biomes are unlocked. For the Hollowed form, the blade spins around you and charges slowly. It gets stronger as you charge it more. All the enemies surrounding you get damage, and at the end you can release to shoot the blade out. This upgrade stays true to my heart as the most simple, yet the coolest looking one, as it is vastly different from most Terraria swords in general. For the Astral Infection form, it is probably the weirdest. You charge the blade and it launches yourself forward, but after charging you can slam the blade to the ground to create pillars of Astral Stone. stones. I think it is the hardest form to properly use in any practical situation. For the sunken sea or abyss form, it loses aerial capabilities as now you shoot out blobs of water aimed at the ground to form ocean waves. It gets stronger if the blob touches water, significantly improving its damage on watery biomes like the ocean. It might sound simple, but trust me, on events like the pirate invasion, this form obliterates any grounded targets. After acquiring the Biome Blade, the next evolution is the true Biome Blade. I know, very creative naming, am I right? To craft this blade, you'd need to defeat Deus in order to gain access to mining astral ores, as you need 3 astral bars. Then you'd need 1 core of Calamity and 3 life alloys. And you also need to defeat the lunatic cultist in order to get access to the ancient manipulator crafting station. Combine all of them and you'll get the true Biome Blade. There are a total of 4 different attunements for this weapon, and now the blade also has passive abilities depending on the second attunement. For the purity or underground, you'll get Swordsmith's Pride. Once selected, the player will spin the true Biome Blade around themselves. The longer you spin the sword, the more powerful and larger the sword gets. When the sword has been more than halfway charged, sword beams will start being fired in random directions around the player, basically a stronger version of the previous hollowed form. The passive shoots out sword beams that can apply the armor crunch debuff. For the desert, corruption or underworld, you'll get the Sanguine Fury. It conjures molten blades in front of you that get larger and stronger the more you hit enemies. Releasing the attack button will send the 4 ghostly blades out flying in a wheel formation. Attacking immediately again after releasing the swords will make the player quickly dash towards the wheel, damaging any enemy in the way. It genuinely feels very cool to be able to dash around using this form. The dash from this form could even save you from sticky situations if used properly. Its passive sometimes heal the player for 7 HP. In the snow or jungle, you'll get Lamentations of the Chained. It's a whip that lashes out with a flurry of chained blades. Striking enemies with the tip of the blades guarantees a critical hit. Critical strikes send out phantom chains that lashes out to multiple targets. The passive summons a ghostly chain hook that floats behind the player. It has a chance to spin around when you damage enemies. It can inflict the glacial state debuff. This jungle passive fits the purity form perfectly. In the abyss or astral infection, you'll get mercurial tides. Hold the attack button to charge a lunge. Shockwaves are emitted as the sword charges up. Striking the ground with the lunge will cause a massive shockwave on impact, which raises a float of astral monoliths. I do not recommend this attunement. It is just not practical in any situation. Its passive causes you to emit shockwaves around you every 2 seconds while attacking. It is the worst passive out of all because you'd need to be very close to enemies. After acquiring the true Biome Blade, the next evolution is Galaxia. In order to get this weapon, you would need to defeat the Devourer of Gods first, as it requires 8 Cosmilite bars, and 8 Dark Sun fragments drop from enemies in the Solar Eclipse event after Devourer's defeat. Combine all of them on a Cosmic Anvil and you'll get Galaxia. Now, you don't have to go to different biomes anymore, as the forms are built in. You can easily switch between the 4 forms by right-clicking. The default form is Phoenix Pride. When selected, the player will spin Galaxia around themselves, with the sword increasing speed, size and damage the more it gets charged. When the sword has been more than halfway charged, homing Galaxia bolts will start being fired in random directions around the player. You can release the charge to throw Galaxia alongside 6 gigantic cosmic bolts. Arya's Wrath is the second form. When used, Galaxia will be thrown to the player's cursor position, and it will follow it around while spinning on itself, essentially like a yo-yo. This form is best used when you want to be precise. Polaris Gaze is the third form. Hitting enemies with the blade charges it up. Releasing the attack button after the blade is charged will shoot a charge star that you can quickly dash to. It indeed feels very awesome to use this form, but now that it is endgame, you generally don't want to be near enemies to charge up the blade, so it's really situational, I must say. Andromeda Strut is the fourth form. In this form, you hold left click to charge up a lunge. While charging up, you release damaging stars that slightly homes to enemies. Lunging into the ground will cause a shockwave, which summons a storm of cosmic energies. This form is just not practical at all in most situations. I do not recommend it. Along these 4 forms, I only recommend you to use Phoenix Pride. It is just the most universal and the best form to use. Many Calamity professionals also recommend this weapon to be used against Yaron the Jungle Dragon. After acquiring Galaxia, the final evolution of the Biome Blade line is the Arc of the Cosmos. In order to craft it, you'd need to also have an Arc of the Elements, which is from a different line of swords from the Fractured Arc line. This sword line is famous for introducing the parry ability. You'd also be required to have Jungle Dragon Yaron already defeated, as the weapon requires 5 auric bars. Be careful around the new auric ores, it is very bouncy. Make sure to handle it with caution. Combine all of them on a Cosmic Anvil, and you'll get yourself Arc of the Cosmos. It is essentially a combination of all the previous forms of the Biome Blade and Fractured Arc line. This weapon performs a 5-swing combo that ends by throwing the blade that follows your cursor. By right-clicking, you'll get to perform a parry. It grants a brief invulnerability, and if you successfully parry, you will empower the next 10 swings of the sword. Using right-click while pressing up with the empowered charge will provoke a big rip in the spacetime. You can dash across the rip by holding up. As the final evolution of the Biome Blade line, it is very powerful and performs very well. The scissor concept from the fractured arc line is quite peculiar, but a welcome addition nonetheless. It is a great weapon to use against the current final bosses of the game, such as the Dreadon Exomex or the edgy emo witch Supreme Calamitas. If you're using the melee class, I highly recommend dedicating your melee playthrough to this weapon line, as each of the swords is available in most stages on your melee playthrough. Granted, you also include the fractured arc line. And that's the new Biome Blade line in a nutshell. See ya!